Good afternoon. Another Premier League week, another roundup. It's been a weird week or so, week and a half. Obviously, we've had a lot of football, but none in the Premier League, obviously. So, nice little breakaway. Decent cup action as well in both the Carabao and the FA Cup. We now know the Carabao Cup finalists, which will be Newcastle versus Manchester United, which I think everyone had on their card anyway. And we had a few, I wouldn't say massive upsets in the FA Cup, but a couple of almost sort of giant killings, if you like. Wrexham spring to mind. I think they drew 3-3 with Sheffield United. I actually watched that game, funnily enough. Really decent game. Spurs obviously got through. Arsenal got knocked out, which is always good, of their own cup competition by Manchester City. So they're now out of it. All this to not win the league again is just funny to me, isn't it? So, yeah, no, decent cup week. We're going to get into match day 21. Obviously, this happened a week ago. We'll go to Anfield first and foremost. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 0. Probably one of the worst games I've seen all season. And this pretty much shows where both clubs are at the moment. Liverpool just look like they're close to finish right now. And Chelsea have signed a fair few amount of players, to be fair. I don't know what Chelsea are playing at, to be honest, but FFP clearly does not apply to them. They brought in so many players throughout the sort of 2 transfer windows they've had this season. You forgot Raheem Sterling was actually still at Chelsea. Massive overhaul happening over there at the minute. Chelsea will obviously come again because they've got money to do so. Liverpool are broke, and that makes me so happy because I've heard no Liverpool fans in my ear trying to scream and shout the odds because they're just not at that level in it at the moment. So, yeah, 0-0, terrible game. Liverpool were terrible. Chelsea were equally as bad, even though Chelsea did have a goal chalked off. I can't remember what it was for now. Offside, I think it was. Strange decision, but it is what it is. I don't see any of these two teams finishing in the top 4 this season, if I'm being really honest. I believe there are better equipped teams at the moment. Even though Chelsea do have a lot of players, a little bit like Nottingham Forest, it will take a little bit of time for them to gel, and then they'll hit results, but possibly at the wrong time for me. And I don't think it's going to, come to anything end of the season. Liverpool, like I see, finishing 8th, 9th. Don't even think they'll get a Europa League place at the moment. Whole squad needs an overhaul. Been saying it for the past few months now. They just haven't been at it ever since the opening game of their season, which was against Fulham, I believe. It looks like there's something that's been wrong with them, and it hasn't changed. It's not going to be a quick fix. I think Liverpool fans know that. That's why they're so quiet. I won't mention any names, but they know who they are exactly. Moving on from them, we'll go to the King Power Stadium. We'll go Leicester. Leicester 2, Brighton 2. Entertaining game from what I saw. I didn't actually watch the game. Obviously saw the results and a couple of the highlights and that, but very entertaining game. But this is what you get when you get 2 footballing sides that genuinely just want to go out and attack. You're going to get goals. You're going to get all the action, of course. So this is like any game Brighton are involved in this season. They seem to just sort of turn it on. Funnily enough, Brighton knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup as well. And Matoma, let me not get into what Matoma made Joe Gomez do. Jesus Christ. But 2-2, really good game. Brighton going well. I've got Brighton to finish in the top sort of 7 for me at the moment. I think they're the best equipped team of the lot, sort of the Fulhams and the Brentfords, to actually catch it. I think Brighton have got a very good nucleus, and they seem to find players that shouldn't be suited to Premier League football, but they've got an abundance of talent there that you haven't heard of before they've gone there, if that makes sense. So no, kudos to them. Leicester still banging trouble. They're not even winning games at home, which is obviously a recipe for disaster. So it's difficult to see where they're sort of going to pick up their results from. I do like Leicester. I've got nothing against them, so I do hope they get out of this rut. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like anything is sort of, becoming fruitful for them. Their only saving grace is that there are teams in the league currently that are worse than them. That's what's going to allow them to stay up. And I do see Leicester finishing sort of 15th, 16th now anyway. So Southampton versus Aston Villa. That was from St Mary's. Aston Villa 1-0 winners. Not shocked by the result, to be honest. Southampton did have a nice little run of about 4 games unbeaten or something like that. but they are not one of those teams that can go on runs and, you know, consistently win games. James Ward-Prowse, being their best player, is not going to score goals every game. He's not a striker. Defensively, they are not that good. Loads has to change there at the moment. Obviously, Nathan Jones coming in, not worked in the Premier League before, or not managed in the Premier League at least. It's starting to show. Game a few chances, I understand as well. Again, another game I didn't really see. But to me, it just seems like a bit of a far cry for them at the moment. I do see them going down at the minute. Aston Villa, I think, will be nice and safe, 12th, 13th sort of place position at the moment. And they'll look to kick on again next season. West Ham 2, Everton 0. Frank Lampard has since been fired since that result, which is probably the best thing that Everton could do, to be quite honest, because I had Everton going down with Lampard in charge, and it absolutely would have happened. West Ham obviously winning at home. I think that was their first win in about 4 or 5 themselves. So no, really decent game from West Ham actually. Everton just had nothing for them. Sean Dyche has come into the fold now. He's the new Everton coach, so he'll be taking over the Everton Arsenal game tomorrow morning at 12:30. He'll just make them a bit more resolute, a bit more streetwise. They won't be conceding the amount of goals, or the volume of goals anyway, that they were conceding previously. They'll make it a lot tougher to beat. And they do have match winners in the squad as well that could do something based on a good defence. So Neil Maupay, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you know, they've got Damari Gray still over there as well. So no, they've got a decent squad, and I've always said Everton, with the squad that they've got, should have never been in that position, which is a little bit of an annoyance, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And there's not really much more I can really say on them at this moment in time. I think that they're going to be bang in trouble. On to Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. That was live from the Vitality Stadium. Again, another one of those games, not many chances, very few and far between. Nottingham Forest, and I'll keep on saying it until I'm blue in the face, this is all Nottingham Forest have to do, is go to away games and just pick up a point, because their home form will see them over the line. I genuinely believe that. Forest are excellent at home, and they've showed that this season. Away from home, they've been atrocious. If they could get those L's into D's, they'll be fine. I'm not even worried about them getting W's away from home, because they'll pick them up at home. That's how good they are. It's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team when it comes to home and away. And Forest are one of the best in the league at home. So proof is there. And I've been telling you, I mean, they've signed like 458 players as well. You know, I'm pretty certain Cooper's going through his 10-10-11 formation as we speak at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, they're all right. Nottingham Forest are fine. As for Bournemouth, I think they're going to slide down the table. I don't see them putting up much of a fight. I just don't think their squad is actually good enough. Weren't they supposed to have signed, what's his name? Zaniolo from Roma? I heard they were trying to bid 30 million for him. I don't think that came to fruition at all. It's a sticky one for them. It's a sticky one for them. And I don't see them getting out of this kind of mini rut that they're in. I don't think they've won a game in, what, 4 at the moment now? So I don't see that run getting any better. They've got a lot of tough games coming up as well. So I do see them sliding down the table, unfortunately. Like I said, for Forest, I think Forest are fine. I think they'll be, 14th, 15th with comfortable room for about 5 or 6 points. They won't get relegated. Crystal Palace, Newcastle United. A little bit of a shock with this one. Considering, I say a shock. I say shock factor, Newcastle didn't win a game. I shouldn't be shocked that not Crystal Palace kept a clean sheet, because they are capable of doing that at home. They're actually very, very good at home, usually. So it's a little bit shocking, the fact that Newcastle couldn't go there and obviously get the win, but I'm not surprised is what I'm trying to say, that Crystal Palace have obviously shut them out. I do see Newcastle finishing in the European positions, but not in the top 4. And I'm going to stand by that, because I think we're going to do it instead. I think we're going to be in the top 4 instead of them, just because we've got match winners. Callum Wilson will probably get injured at some point this season as well. St. Maximin is obviously a very good player, but doesn't score enough. Isak, I don't think, is at this level yet. And I just feel we have a little bit more about ourselves going forward. But they hold the 4th position at the moment, and deservedly so, because they've been excellent this season. Again, another team that have only lost once this season as well, like Arsenal. But yeah, not really much to report on it, to be quite honest. Just a really decent 0-0 game. Wasn't drab. Pretty decent for what I saw. And both clubs will look to kick on from this point. Don't think any of them had a really noisy transfer window. I think Palace got Lokonga in, I think. I think they signed 2, Palace, actually. Newcastle, I don't think, signed anyone. Lost John Joe Shelby, I know that. I don't think they signed anybody else. If I'm missing someone, put it in the comments or something. But yeah, both teams will look to kick on. Newcastle will finish in the top sort of 6, I think, for me. Palace easily finish in the top sort of 12. Manchester City 3, Wolverhampton 0, and Erling Haaland has scored another hat-trick. That is, I believe, his 4th hat-trick this season alone. He's already coming for the record of most hat-tricks in the season. I think Shearer holds that at 5. He's already hit 25 goals in the Premier League this season. 23 was the final tally of last season, which obviously Son and Salah scored. He's just a freak of nature. There's not really much more you can say about Erling Haaland like that you haven't said before. Yeah, he has hips and spurts. He didn't score for like 4 games, but he's on 25 Premier League goals in like 18, 19 games. He's going to hit 40, 45 goals end of the season in the Premier League alone if he stays fit. And he's going to be the difference when they win a few trophies this season, Manchester City. I've got them down to win the Champions League. I've got them to win the league as well. FA Cup, I think, could be anybody's. Man United obviously could win it. We could win it. Don't laugh, obviously. We don't like winning trophies. Trophy dodgers, obviously, we've had it all. But I genuinely believe with Conte, and we've had a little bit of a chat as well, something is brewing there. We had a decent market also. But no, Manchester City 3-0 ended up very, very easy. Wolverhampton didn't really offer anything, but not many teams do when they go to the Etihad. So we'll just put that down to a bonus game. City looking to chase Arsenal down. I think they've got Arsenal got a game in hand on them, but currently it stands at 5 points. And we know they're going to eat that up and make it up, because Manchester City are capable of going on a 10, 12, 15 game run without losing a game. And they will chase Arsenal down because they've got to play them twice, and I just don't see Arsenal doing it. Arsenal fans even shook to even say, yeah, we're going to win the league. They won't even say they're in a title challenge. They'll say our top 4 is looking to be consolidated. They're chatting so much rubbish. Leeds United 0, Brentford 0 from Ellen Road. Again, another game that wasn't drab. Wasn't the best 0-0 ever, but there were a few chances. Both teams obviously could have won it. But defences were on top, and it showed. One of those teams that, Brentford don't necessarily travel away from home well. Leeds United are pretty decent at home, so you could have probably got a 0-0, 1-1 type scoreline if you were to obviously make a bet on it. And that's what it was. Again, another one of those games you can't really comment much on because not much really happened. Arsenal 3, Manchester United 2 from the Emirates. Probably the game of the season so far. Game had everything. It had incident, it had VAR, we had goals, great goals as well, especially Rashford and Saka's goals. Brilliant strikes, both of them. From what I saw of the game, because I was out and about at the time, so I kind of had it on my tablet whilst I was in the car. Really, really good game. Manchester United obviously started off really, really fast, got the goal early on. And Nketiah, I think, equalised with a header. Then the second half came and Arsenal just bullied them, just bossed them pretty much from the start of that 45 to the 90. Man United didn't really have an answer for it and were trying to hold on in the end. And Arsenal got a goal via a VAR, which wasn't offside, because I've seen it on a few occasions, and there is no offside there. So deserved. They continue to win games, which is annoying for me, but at this time, it is what it is at the moment. They are going to be caught, so that's what's keeping me going, to be quite honest with you. And they got knocked out of the cup, so they can have all the rest in the world. They are going to drop more points, so they've still got to go to the likes of Newcastle, still got a rejuvenated Chelsea to come, still got to go to a depleted Liverpool at Anfield, still got to play Manchester City twice. yeah, I'm not worried about them, to be quite honest with you. Manchester City are going to do it. And I kind of hope that, Manchester City do come and take 3 points from us this weekend. For the culture, innit? I could take an L there, that's fine. And then we just win, bang 10 games where we don't, drop points, and it'd be lovely. But there we are. There we are. Final game of the weekend. This was on a Monday. From Craven Cottage, it was Fulham 0, Tottenham 1. Very, very, very terrible game. And I say that with the most respect. It wasn't a good game. I expected Fulham to come and blow us away. I thought we'd get annihilated because of the amount of crosses they could put into the box, which never really materialised. Mitrovic wasn't in the game. Pereira wasn't really in the game. Deco-Dover-Reid wasn't really in the game. And we struck when it mattered. So right on the stroke of half-time, Harry Kane doing what Harry Kane does. Quick turn, right foot into the bottom corner of the net from about 20, 25 yards out. That's what he does. So it's nice to see that we've got match winners like that can do bits like that, to be quite honest. It's another clean sheet for us as well. We'll couple that with the Preston clean sheet we got also. Yeah, not happy with the performance, obviously, but I'll take the 3 points because that's what it's about this time of year at the moment. So, the style of play doesn't have to be the best, but as long as we are winning games and getting points, that's all that matters to me, and still in with a chance of hitting the top 4. So, yeah, happy days for me, to be quite honest. Predictions. It starts off tonight. Match week 22, Chelsea Fulham kick it off, a nice West London derby from Stamford Bridge. I will go with a Chelsea 1-0 win, based on the fact that they've signed a few players now. They are looking to obviously change it up a little bit, change the identity of the squad at the moment. Fulham do travel quite well. They've won a few sort of important games this season and scored, and I think pretty much all of them, bar 2, I believe. So they do like to create chances. They are one of those teams that do like to create chances. But I do think Chelsea will win this 1-0. Chelsea won their last London derby 1-0 last week against Crystal Palace, or the week before even. And I do see the same thing happening here. Everton versus Arsenal. That is tomorrow. That's the early kickoff tomorrow. Under Sean Dyche, I do see Everton being a lot more resolute, but I do still see Arsenal taking the points, and I'm going to go with 1-0 to Arsenal there. Everton, I think, will create chances. I just don't think they're at the level now to score at the moment. It's going to take them a few games to get under the regime of Sean Dyche. But they're going to be a lot more resolute. I don't see Arsenal scoring more than 2. I do think Everton will try and show up for the fans because, quite frankly, Goodison Park will demand it. But I just think Arsenal will be too strong. I'll go with a 1-0 win at Arsenal, Goodison Park. Amex Stadium, Brighton versus Bournemouth. That's a Brighton win for me all day long. So no-brainer for me. I'm going to go with a 3-0 win Brighton again. I think Matoma is going to hit a brace. I think I'll probably be my bet of the week, to be quite honest. Matoma to have 2 or more shots on target. Just find himself in the right place at the right time, and then obviously can make the room to obviously get a shot away as he did to Liverpool and made Joe Gomez look like a bum. 3-0 to Brighton against Bournemouth from the Amex. Man United, Crystal Palace, another one I think is quite easy to predict. Even though Crystal Palace do like going to Old Trafford recently. I think the last few times they've been there, they've taken points from there. This is a different Man United, though, under Ten Hag, and I do believe it will be a well-disciplined performance, and I'll go with a 2-0 win there. Marcus Rashford will continue his streak in the Premier League. Just won player of the month as well. And I think that continues at Old Trafford. It'll be a raucous crowd as well. 3 o'clock kickoff. Man United to take it 2-0 against Palace. Brentford versus Southampton. This is from the G-Tech. Brentford win. A lot of these games are actually very, forthcoming. I think a lot of them are very easy to predict. I know it's the Premier League and you say football is football, but based on form and the teams that are home at the moment, I don't see Southampton having a hope in hell against Brentford. I'm going to be honest. I see Brentford taking this 3-0. Maybe 3-1, depending on what James Ward-Prowse decides to do with a free kick. And that's it, because that's literally their early mode of scoring at the moment. Che Adams is not it. Armstrong is not it. I believe Shane Long is left now. So, yeah, a little bit peak for them at the moment. Brentford to win that. Ivan Toney, I believe, is going to be on the score sheet there as well. We'll go 3-0. 3-1 at a push. Potential both teams to score. Wolverhampton versus Liverpool. This is becoming a 6-pointer for Liverpool. I'm going to be honest. Wolverhampton are no pushovers. I know they got beat at Manchester City last week, but at home, with a very, very terrible Liverpool side at the moment, I can see a bit of a shock here happening. But would it be a shock? Really? My mind's telling... I don't want to use them words, actually, after a certain Mr. Kelly, actually. I'm going to go with 1-1. Yeah, we'll go with a 1-1 draw. I think Wolverhampton are going to nick a goal first, and then Liverpool will probably get one via Salah or something. But Liverpool could easily lose this tomorrow. Very easily lose this tomorrow. They know they need results. Klopp needs to get the 11 right. And whether he does that or not remains to be seen. But Wolverhampton will be up for this. They will be absolutely up for this. And I do think Wolverhampton could nick it. But I'm going to say 1-1 for now. Potentially Wolverhampton to win it 2-1. That's what I'm going with. Aston Villa versus Leicester City. This is from Villa Park. I will go with an Aston Villa home win based on the fact that Leicester do not like travelling. I think Leicester have been pelted every single time they've travelled, except for against Everton. I think they beat Everton. I think they beat Everton. Yes, they did beat Everton. Tielemans scored like a corker, top corner, I think it was. Yeah, Leicester don't travel well. Villa are quite decent at home. No brainer. Aston Villa to win that 2-0 for me. Newcastle versus West Ham. That is the late kickoff, so 5:30. I see a Newcastle win there. I know West Ham got their win in the FA Cup against Derby. I also know they got their win last week as well against Everton. I just don't see them going to St James's Park and getting a result there, to be quite honest. They haven't quite turned the corner. I think Newcastle have too much for them. Unbeaten at home again, of course. We'll go with a Newcastle 2-1 win there as well. Nottingham Forest versus Leeds United. That is on Sunday. Nottingham Forest for me to win that, based on the fact of what I said before. They're at home. They're usually very good at home. I think they've only lost 2 games at home all season. Leeds United are one of those clubs that do not travel well. They play really, really good football, really attractive football, but I just think Nottingham Forest are too good at home at the moment and will turn Leeds over. We'll go with a 2-0 win there. And then final game of the weekend, the one I said earlier, which is my game of the weekend, of course. It should be everyone else's. Tottenham versus Manchester City, live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, bit of a catch-22. It's a win-win for us Tottenham fans, to be honest. If we win the game, it's 3 points, happy days, top 4 and all that. If we lose the game, it means Man City get to chase Arsenal again. We can't lose. I still think we're going to hit the top 4 anyway. I really do think we're getting in there. Because we don't draw many games. We either win them or we lose them. We don't draw many at all. So it's easy for me to just sit there and be like, whatever happens, happens. And I genuinely believe that, because I don't want Arsenal to win the league. But at the same time, I want us to get the top 4. So either way, it's good. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I'm sitting on the fence on this one because I know we've got a very good record against Manchester City. And I kind of half want them to win because of the reasons I've just mentioned. But if I was to outright be like, yeah, Spurs to win it, I would probably go with 1-0 to us, 2-1 type game. We'll nick it by the odd goal because we do tend to play well against Manchester City, and then we seem to have the formula to nullify them, and that's what it's going to have to be, especially on a Sunday. I will probably go with a 2-1 win to us, 2-2 draw, but won't be mad at a Manchester City win. That's it from me. I'm going to post this up a little bit later on. We'll probably do another one next week. I'm actually going to be away in the week as well, so I'm not going to tell you where I'm going, but you'll see the destination as well. So I'll probably do one from where I'm at. But until then, yeah, enjoy tonight, enjoy the weekend, and we'll chat in a bit.